Hi, welcome back to the Time for Tea Designs channel. This is Lauren Taylor, and I'm excited to create this fun little Fantastic Friend underwater scene card with a little bit of watercoloring. That was just a quick look at my supplies, but let's jump right into making our card. I'm going to use this lighter blue color from the gorgeous Gingham rainbow set, and I'm going to trim it down to fit onto my A2 size card. So it will be 4¼ by 5½ inches. So I want to trim my paper down to 4 by 5¼ and that will leave a nice little border around all four sides of my pattern paper onto my white card base. My white card base is a top folding A2 card. This is my favorite way to make cards. I think they stand up on mantles or bookshelves a lot easier, so I like to use this to send to family and friends. I die cut a white circle and I'm going to use this to build my little mini scene on my card. I'm grabbing my edger die set and I'm grabbing a couple dies. This one is a cloud die that I'm going to use it as water, and then this wavy die as well, and I'm going to die cut it out of some blue cardstock. I use some low tack tape to keep my dies in place when running it through my die cut machine, and now I'm going to lower my die about 1/4 inch to maybe 1/2 inch, not too much, to create a border that will die cut on both sides. So I have a wavy border and a cloud border, and that way I can trim these out and use them as standalone pieces on my little scene that I'm creating. So I'm just grabbing some scissors and trimming them out of my cardstock piece, and I'm going to place them onto my circle how I think they will look and create what looks like waves in an ocean scene. Once I'm happy with the placement, I'm going to grab some adhesive and I'm going to glue these down to the white circle. I am adding glue further than where I think it will be on the circle, and that way I know I don't have to apply any more because I didn't put quite enough from edge to edge, and I'm just going to trim off the edges once it is dry and in place. So I'm just going to grab those scissors again, and I'm going to just cut around the edge of the circle. If you really wanted to, you could use your die cut and place it back around the circle and it will cut all four at the same time, but I just thought it would be easier to use my scissors and just trim around the edge of the white circle. Before I glue my circle down, I want to make sure I have my images and my sentiment placed where I want them. So I'm going to start with my sentiment die cut. I'm using I believe it's hi, hey, hello. There are 3 different hello sentiments in this die set, and I'm just going to be using hi. I die cut the shadow out of some teal gingham from the same paper pack, and then I die cut the sentiment hi out of some teal paper, and I'm going to layer these together with some adhesive. I'm not going to pop it up on the shadow. This will be just glued directly down. I wanted to add another color to my card, and I think layering the teal and blue gingham together will look really nice and complementary and not overly busy. So once I get my hi added to my shadow, I was originally thinking that they were going to overlap like this and have my sentiment kind of off-centered, but the more I start adding to my card, the more I want to make everything look more centered, but I will change my mind later on. Next, I'm going to work on stamping a sentiment. I'm using VersaFine Clair in Twilight, which is a blue ink, and I'm stamping to a Fantastic Friend. This is going to go really cute with my little critter I'm going to put on my card later. I have the corresponding die set, and as you can see, I probably should get some magnets, but I'm figuring out which die cut works for this sentiment, and I use some pliers to cut them apart, and now I'm going to use some repositional tape to help me keep my die in place, and then I will run it through my die cut machine. This is one of my favorite things about Time for Tea Designs are the dies that match the sentiments. I love that you get this kind of bubble cut around the words. It's so fun. So now I know my sentiment is going to go below my high, but I want to start working on my critters. So I picked out the little scene from the stamp set that has kind of seaweed and little fish. I thought it would be really cute to put on the bottom of the circle. And then I want to stamp out the dolphin. I love dolphins. They're one of my favorite animals since I was a kid, as most girls probably also went through a similar phase. You were either a dolphin or a horse girl, right? And I'm going to be using my Zig Clean Color brushes, and this is why I stamped in that VersaFine. It is watercolor friendly and it won't bleed when you use watercolors. So I'm adding some color to my image and then using the clear water blender pen, I'm just blending out that color so it has a nice soft look to it. And I'm going to be using a blue gray to color in my dolphin. I'm also going to be using some tealish green color to match the high sentiment, and then my sand will be using beige and oatmeal colors, and then some pretty blue for the fishes just to tie in more with the blue of the card. I wanted it to feel like the same colors throughout the card and not have anything too bright popping off like having orange or yellow fish. So I really like the colors that I chose, and I think they match the paper really well. I'm also going to grab a little bit of a pink layer on and add a little cheek to my dolphin because of course all of our critters have to have cute little cheeks. So as I finish up coloring, I'm going through this pretty quickly, but I just wanted to show my coloring at a higher speed so I don't take up too much time. But I also, again, wanted to show how I'm blending all of the colors so you can attempt to try this at home. So now I am lining up their corresponding dies and again using that repositional tape to help me keep them in place as I die cut. The little scene here doesn't cut all the way around, it just cuts the top so you can build a scene around it. So I just trim that out and I'm going to line it up to the bottom edge of my circle so I can see where I need to trim it. I'm going to use some tape again to hold my die cut in place so it doesn't move while I'm cutting and I'll be sad. So now I'm just going to repeat what I did with my blue waves and trim around the edge of the circle so my scene will line up perfectly inside. So now to add in my images, I'm going to grab some foam squares. These are the thin foam squares. I'm going to pop up my wave circle as well. So in order to avoid too much bulk, I'm going to be using these little extra thin foam squares to help, reduce some of that bulk in my card. So I put plenty on the back of my little seaweed here. I want to make sure it stays in place and it has good support all over the image. And then I will line it up to the bottom of my circle and place that down. And I'm going to repeat that same process with my dolphin. I'm going to add the dolphin to the top center, which is where I decide to change everything to be centered because I felt that it was a little unbalanced. But anyway, so now I'm adding those foam squares behind my dolphin. I will peel off the release paper and then add that to my little scene. And then I have some larger ones for the back of my circle, so I will grab those and place my circle to the center of my card. So now I'm realizing that yes, the high should be centered, and once I'm done adding my circle, I'm going to grab some thicker foam adhesive and I will trim it down to fit to my high sentiment, and then also a piece of adhesive behind my stamped sentiment as well. I love adding dimension to my card. It just gives a little bit more interest to my cards, and so it feels more interactive for the card receiver. And of course it means a little more bulk when mailing, but I have a stock of extra ounce stamps for myself here in the US, and I'm happily, adding 20 cents. No big deal to me to send a card that has a little bit more dimension. I'd love to know what you all think. Do you guys like adding dimension to your cards? Let me know in the comments. So now let me finish adding my sentiment, and then I'm going to grab a pops of color because as you could tell there is no shine or bling on this card, and I don't know how to create a card without some type of shimmer even if it's intended for someone who may not like shimmer and glitter. I still have to secretly add in some type of shine. So I'm grabbing a blue pops of color, and I thought it matched really well with the blue gingham paper, and I'm just going to add a couple little spots here and there, and then I will tap on the inside of the card to make them more domed and enamel dot looking. Here is a final look at my Hi to a Fintastic Friend underwater watercolor scene card. I really think it's so cute, and I'm so grateful for the time I've had with Time for Tea. Thank you again for stopping by the Time for Tea Designs YouTube channel. Use the links down below to find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest for even more inspiration. Thank you for watching, and we hope you have a wonderful day.